Hello everyone, welcome to the podcast. In today's episode, I'm joined with Kassy and she has been on the podcast before last year. I can't believe I'm saying it last year because the year's gone so fast, right? So if you just do a little introduction to yourself, just so it reminds people who you are.
Hi, my name's Cassie. I'm on the autism spectrum, and I also have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And I think the last time I was on the podcast, I talked a little bit about misdiagnosis, so that was fun. And yeah, Mason and I had a good connection when we were talking about our similarities with autism. And yeah, I'm excited he has me back for that now.
Yeah, because when you was on last time, you didn't know you had autism. So it was a surprise, wasn't it? And then once we done it, I said, "We'll get you back on and we talk about it." But today is because there's so much to talk around autism. We could be here all year doing it, right? So we're just gonna speak about communication because we feel like communication is really important. So we're gonna maybe pick up a few scenarios, a few experiences, and we'll talk about them. So, direct communication, Casey. So, so to start with, how how has communication been for you? Like speaking maybe to a person directly. Is that quite hard for you?
I do find it difficult and stressful, especially at first. When you get to know people a little bit more, depending on the person, it can change, become more comfortable. But one thing that I find specifically really hard is just the eye contact, because I
Right.
focus so much better when I'm not looking people in the eye.
Yeah. Like it's good with stuff like this, right? Because we don't know if we're looking at each other or not.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, we can look at in the general location
Yeah. Yeah.
and not, yeah.
Because from your background, you're in some sort of jungle. So
In the mountains somewhere with a pretty
yeah.
ocean spring that I wish I could kayak in.
Yeah.
There's no gators in this pond.
Oh.
Like Florida, there's like a gator everywhere, so you can't you can't swim anywhere. I'm just all right.
Yeah. But I know, like, with eye contact, it's annoying, isn't it? But I can't do it either. But I think it does depend, like you said, if you how well you know a person. If you don't know them too well, you can find it hard to communicate with them. But it still takes a certain amount of time to feel comfortable with that.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Like what when you first done it, you came on the podcast last time. Would you say you was nervous about it, or do you think you was okay?
Oh, I was definitely panicking the entire time. Like I was afraid of doing anything wrong, but I am starting to get my bearings. I've done a few more. I haven't done podcasts, but I've done interviews
Yeah,
with some people, which has been so great.
yeah. See,
I'm starting to come out of my fear a little bit.
yeah, you're learning to love doing it, all the
Mhm.
interviews and stuff. Like I done a speech a few weeks ago, and I was speaking about autism and stuff like that, and I was in a room with lots of people, and they were just staring at me, right? And I didn't stare at them. I was just looking into the air. I might have saw people look at me, but because I've done that stuff before, I was alright. Like how I do it, I kind of be like a little comedian and make people laugh. Well, like we was talking about people understanding autism and certain stuff, and I was like, you need to sack them, get rid of them, because like in education, for example, there's loads of people in there that shouldn't be there if they don't know what they're doing or if they don't want to understand different people's needs. I'm like, sack them, get rid of them.
Exactly. exactly. If they're on their own plane and they can't accommodate, they can't filter in, they just need to
Yeah,
stay on their own line. Yeah, just let them go. Go do it over there.
you have to go.
Yeah.
You go. So is there any like scenarios you can share from like your experiences with, I guess maybe finding communication really hard?
I
Like,
can give you an example. I went to my college campus
yeah,
like before coming here because I had some business with the teachers and the emails weren't getting through and I don't know what's going on with that. Like whatever. But I just showed up and I was like, "Oh, I need," and then I found both the teachers I wanted to talk to in the same room and I was like, "All right. This is great." And towards the end one had to leave and then the other one I was finishing up some stuff. And towards the end, like I was leaving and I felt awkward about just leaving without saying anything. And so I looked back and she was just like, "Yep, I'm going to class now." And I think it was just like leaving and not realizing that, yeah, you don't need a formal goodbye. Like, you don't need to do every conversation the same way. You can just excuse yourself and go. And like, I'm sorry to pick up on the patterns because like she doesn't know how to deal with it either. So she'll just like, and we have a really good relationship. So there's like no harm or anything. Like, no ill will or anything on either one of our sides, but like she'll say some kind of ending remark in like this high-pitched voice, and I'm just like I'm beginning to figure out, oh, it's because I don't necessarily have to say goodbye and then there's silence. I can just like have an offhanded word on the way out and leave. Like, does that make any sense?
yeah, yeah. So it was quite awkward, I guess, leaving without saying goodbye.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
evidently it's like expected and fine in that scenario, but
yeah, yeah. I know what you're saying. But sometimes with these like different communications, it's quite funny. Some of them, isn't it? Like, although you just know they don't understand you, and you know a little bit what you're doing, but then you just laugh as you're leaving a little bit, thinking they they don't know why I'm doing this, but I do.
yeah. It's like not knowing when exactly there's supposed to be a formal goodbye versus an informal thing. So that was an informal occasion, and I was like second guessing myself
Yeah,
in that moment, right?
that's right.
Yeah, it's just so funny.
It's like when you like if you go to school or college and you have someone stand like teacher standing outside, and I used to do this. Like they would say goodbye to you and you just walk on. I mean, it's like, you don't really care about saying goodbye to a teacher, unless you like them, of course. But
Mhm.
you just want to leave. You just want to go home, and then they're like, "Are you not going to say bye?"
Oh yeah, some of them actually expect it.
Yeah,
See, so usually for me, if I don't have anything to say to a teacher, I either really, really, really don't like them, or I like them fine, but I'm having such a bad sensory day. I need to go decompress and get away from everyone. Whether it's my stomach, whether it's my head, like whether I just need to lay down and breathe a little bit and like shut the world out, like or sometimes like when you're in college, it's like you have a million things on your mind and sometimes you're just like you're in the zone to get it done so you don't forget about it and you just like everything else goes out the window, including social
yeah.
stuff like that. So, I mean, it's not any personal reason most of the time anyway.
No, no, it's not. And like when I've like spoke or to to different people, and like if you're in a class and you don't want to communicate with anyone, you just want to do your work, and then you get picked up on, like a teacher says to you, and you don't know what to say at that point. I think whether the communication's there a bit different, where you're speechless, like you're you're kind of embarrassed a little bit that you are, are being forced to say something when you didn't ask to speak.
Yeah. Oh, you mean like if you're in the classroom and your
Yeah,
teacher calls you and you're just not prepared for it?
yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah, I hate that.
yeah. And I found that they pick on it if say you're not putting your hand up, right, in the class, or you're just sitting there minding your own business, and they'll do that more than maybe if someone's say you're a good student
Mhm.
and you just get on with your work and they pick on you. But what one of my last teachers I had at school, I appreciated them because you know when you read a book in class and some teachers may pick on you, say, can you read this line? Can you read this line? Last teacher I had was said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to make other people uncomfortable. Like if you do want to read, I'd rather them say to me than me pick on someone. So I I much prefer that, and I laugh back now, but when I've been doing that in the past, I would just read a random page, right?
Mhm.
But we're not on that page. We've been past that page like ages ago, and I'm reading it, and I say we're not there. But really, I find it really hard to concentrate with some when people read the book because I find they go too slow. It's why I like audio because you go at a faster pace and it works better in my brain rather than going. He went over the hill and jumped on the horse or stuff like that. Right? It doesn't process for me.
Yeah, so everybody has their own speed. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you feel like it can be like that in conversations sometimes, or like it's hard to keep up with people? Like they're
Yeah.
either too fast or too slow, like whatever it is, and you're just like,
Yeah. It's like you're going out for a walk and you've got that really slow person, really fast person.
yeah,
But obviously it's not walking, but a similar concept.
yeah. So here's another question. Okay, so in conversation,
Hmm.
and this is a big one, I think probably for the autism community, for both of us, picking up on subtle hints versus tiny little, okay, instead versus just being told that flat out. So for instance, if you're talking and you do something that's annoying, or you say something that rubs somebody the wrong way and you don't pick up on it, and they're dropping subtle hints, and you're in the moment, you're not sure what's going on, but then they finally blow up on you, and you're like, whoa, what even happened?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what happened? Like, why? Why are you yelling? Like, because, like, I feel like with us, like, it's not that we don't have empathy and we don't care. It's just we don't always, like, we speak our minds. Sometimes we info dump, okay? Which, like, I've known at times I've done that and I feel so embarrassed when I do. But specifically with neurotypicals, people on the spectrum just, they're like us. So they forgive and they forget. But,
Yeah.
but,
I
like, whatever. Go ahead.
yeah. I was just saying I've done that. I've done that, and sometimes I wouldn't know I was annoying them, and he just laugh like, what? Why are you shouting at me?
Yeah, yeah, but it's like we have empathy. It's not that we don't care. It's just like if you don't tell us directly, hey, that bothered me, I'm not messing around and this is why. Like we don't necessarily like it goes past our brains. Like it just does not register. Like
Yeah.
we're just, you know.
Like in the past, a teacher would come to me and they would say, "Can you look after them or something, or I'll do something for someone else, right?" And I'm like, "Not my problem." And then and they're like they're thinking I don't care. When like you say about empathy, it's not I don't care. It's like I've got my own problems to deal with upon other people's. So yeah, it's weird. It's weird, like because people's moods change, um, and people don't know how to see that sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's really interesting that the different ways people take the take things. Like you have people there that take things more seriously. You have people who take things more literally. Um,
Hmm.
and you have people. I think over time, I don't know if about you. I don't know if you've ever felt that way. Like, say someone spoke to you and you took it quite seriously. Like, has that ever happened to you? Like, they were joking and you took it quite to heart.
Oh man, that happened all the time. Like I had to stay with a friend of mine one time because I needed some extra support and I didn't have a place to live. And he's on the spectrum too, and he would make these comments to the point I was having panic attacks. And I was taking it so literally. And then when I moved to my next residence and kind of like got over it, moved on, he later said, "Oh, evidently I was making these offhand joking comments and you were taking them all seriously." Like he did not understand that he was making me like gut-wrenchingly paranoid. And he was on the spectrum too. Um, but it was so funny. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's definitely happened to me.
Yeah, like it's happened to me as well. Like, especially when I was younger. But I felt as I've got older, I don't know if you feel the same. You might not, but as I've got older, I've learnt to get sarcasm more. As I've
Mhm.
got older, and like I like to joke and stuff. So when I used to do that when I was younger, and people laughing at me, I thought they were laughing at me in a bad way. But as I've got older, I've got the sense that they're laughing at me because I'm funny, right? So
Yeah,
I don't take it as serious anymore. But when people do take things seriously, and say I've said something to someone now, and they've took it really seriously, part of me wants to carry on. But it's not because it's being mean, but it's part of the joke. And then you say at the end, "I'm joking."
yeah,
But I understand it. I understand if people take things really seriously because there's different lengths, isn't there, for how people take it. People can take it really seriously that it's the end of the world.
yeah.
Like, but then there's people that would just laugh about it in the end.
Yeah. You know, totally. I just funny with my friend, he was making like end of the world jokes because we're in a religious sphere. So I was taking it like drop dead serious and he did not realize. Because it's funny how you say that. And he because he was on the spectrum, like he was saying it with like a flat effect, like he was serious. So like there
Yep.
was no way I was picking up on that sarcasm whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's so funny. So sometimes the um neurodivergent to neurodivergent dynamics can be worse than the neurodivergent and non-neurodivergent, and sometimes it's the non-neurodivergent to the neurodivergent. So it's funny the different nuances and
Yeah.
complications that it can take. Yeah.
It's like the communication between that, like a neurodivergent person to another neurodivergent person. It's,
Hmm.
you might both have autism, but you might not. You might one person maybe understands the other person more, right? Because like you said to your friend, right?
Hmm.
You thought he was being serious and he wasn't. So maybe at that time you didn't know him as well as you thought you did, with how serious that your friend can be. So maybe now you, if he does it again or if they do it again, you'll know that maybe they might be joking. I have to maybe try and analyze it and see if they are or not.
Yeah, and likewise, he didn't know how seriously gullible or like ignorant I was. And so now he'll probably be thinking the same thing when we come back together. It's like maybe I should be more careful about what I say and not joke about certain things because
Yeah, there's a
maybe it drives a wedge, you know?
yeah, there's a balance about joking around the things because something can be really serious. Like if it's religious, that is quite serious. But if it's something um, that has happened and then it happens again and again and again, then then it gets too boring, and then you're gonna know. But if it's something else, and they're really good at hiding that with being serious and joking, you're never gonna know if they are being serious or joking.
Yeah. But I feel I'm just gonna coin the term interneurodivergent communication because it's a spectrum, right? So autism affects us all differently. We all experience it differently, and we can relate in certain ways, but not in others. It just goes to show you the difference between the spectrum.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
The
everyone's so
important-
different. If everyone has autism experiences differently, and yeah, that's just the different communication, like how people say things. Like yeah, it's really interesting, right? How people say things because let's it's like different tones maybe. Like I I was at I remember a teacher that was always change their mood, like their tones and stuff like that. If you ask them a question, they would change the tone. Um, but I laugh when people change their tones. I don't know why. But I find it funny. Like if they're trying to be serious to you, but then you're not trying to be serious back, it gets really
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, no, totally.
But I find when talking, it's hard to talk to people, isn't it? That you don't know. Like if you go somewhere for the day, or like if you go out for a meal, or you go to a concert or something like that, it's hard to speak to people in charge. Um, like how you feel and let your feelings out if someone's worrying you, because they might not do anything. So you find with autism, you have to kind of navigate it yourself a little bit.
Yeah, it can be really hard to navigate situations like that because people can be like really sweet and understanding and adapt with you, or they could try to make it worse, or they'll like target you after that. Like you don't know them, and so it's like it can be a little scary and unpredictable.
Yeah. Yeah, like it is. It's quite scary.
Yeah.
Very scary. Yeah, it's like everyone's going to be so different. Like you might come across someone and you don't know if they are neurodiverse as well, and they might be.
Yeah.
So so it's a broad spectrum that you just don't know. But with communicating, it's just hard to speak to people that you've never seen before at first, and you're not going to look at them properly. And
Yeah.
And in interviews, for example, it's annoying. People look at that, don't they? In interviews, for you to look at them, and I don't think that should be one of the targets because if you're talking to them, right? Why does looking at someone make any difference?
Right. Exactly. As long as you're following the stream of conversation.
Yeah, if you're doing what you're supposed
I
to
feel
do.
like there's I feel like there's this stigmatism like around that, you know?
Yeah,
Like if you're not looking at someone in the eye, you're not competent, and this is not true.
yeah. Because what I would say, depending on the job, but I don't think it matters what the job is in the interview room. Um, but most of the time, whatever you do, you're not going to look at someone directly in the eye anyway.
Yeah.
Like, regardless, because it's just odd, isn't it? Say you both look at each other in the eyes. It's just, it just, it's just strange that you're both going to do that. Like, they're looking at you, right?
Hmm.
And you're supposed to be looking at them. But what if they're not looking at you at one point and you're looking at them and they don't spot that you're looking at them? So it's just really strange.
It's really strange.
Yeah, because like you get that at school, right? The target is when you're going into an interview, you have to look at them. You have to dress smart. You have to be confident. All these different things that
Yeah.
take time. Um, and it come to me being confident, I guess, I when I thought not to worry about what other people thought of their opinion on me. And I think that's when you feel like that, you feel like you don't worry about what people say. Because if they are more cared about looking at you, you look at them in the eye, right? And
Mhm.
go somewhere else. I'm sure there's people out there that don't care about that. Hopefully.
There's a lot of people out there who like it takes some explaining and time and patience for them to be used to you not looking at them in the eye. Because like I've had people, and I can't think of any examples, just that I know it's happened on a numerous amount of occasions where they'll just say, "Hey, look me in the eye, look me in the eye," and you're trying, and you're just like flat out explain, "Hey, it's really hard for me to maintain eye contact. It's nothing personal. It's not a disrespect." But and it is especially like prevalent in like the older population where looking in the eye was like really seriously like a huge courtesy and social expectation. I feel
Yeah,
like slowly that's expectation is changing, with our world today. There are still times and places for formalities and such, but I think just the fact people are raising awareness about neurodivergence and stuff, like it's happening and it's starting to become a little bit more, I guess, acceptable, I would say.
yeah, it's getting more and more talked about. That's for sure. Like, why do you think it's hard though? It's hard to explain, isn't it? Why is it hard to look into someone else's eye? Do you think?
I think there's just like a lot of sensory information. Like you're like there's a physical and emotional attempt, whether it's and I think it's subconscious just to read a person's soul and their energy. It's a lot of sensory information.
Yeah,
And then the other thing about it is that I think that for some people they may have like a neurological condition that weighs them down, so it actually is physically hard to look up in
but
the eyes. I've heard it explained like it's a heavy weight and it's by some people, like I've heard that.
do you think their personality makes any difference to if you look at them or not? Because say if they're quite aggressive or quite obnoxious, do you think that would make it less likely to look at them than maybe someone who's quite confident and polite?
Possibly to a point, maybe depending on a mood. Like, because I have a hard time looking people in the eye if I feel aggressive. Like, it is not necessarily toward them. Like, I could be in sensory overload. I could have a stomach ache. I could be like still trying to get over, like, maybe I flunked a test and I was frustrated that a thing didn't go to a thing and the communication through the email didn't do the thing. And so then this happened. And then, like, I'm getting over whatever that long thing was. And so like I'm in pain and I'm in sensory overload. And so like I haven't exactly manifested a feeling of like peace. And so then I have to go straight into another conversation with somebody for whatever reason. And so like I like me trying to shove it all under the surface for them and maybe not being able to all the way, like it's hard to look them in the eye because like I don't want them to see those piercing eyes and then think it's like on them when it has nothing to do with them. It's like, oh, my head hurts, my stomach hurts, and this thing over here stressed me out. So
Yeah, it's like you're staring into someone's soul. That's what they want, don't they?
yeah.
They want you to stare in their soul, like stare at them the whole thing. Like it's not. I don't think it should be. It shouldn't be one of the most important things, should it? Really?
Mhm.
Like I don't like you don't know if I'm looking at you. I don't know if you're looking at me. It may look like it, right? The way we're looking
Yeah.
at the moment, but we will never know unless you say. If you say I'm not looking at you, or like I'll say I'm looking at the trees. I'm looking at the mountain behind you there, and
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. That's where the conversation can get more heated if you're worrying about that makes us more anxious if you or even more sort of anxious if you're moaning about it, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I think there's just so much energy communicated through the eyes. Like, I think about it like if I can have a hard time looking at somebody in the eye because I don't want to communicate certain energies to them, like how much more can like somebody who's got like a different kind of personality, how much more would you like struggle to make eye contact with them even as like somebody else? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
But but yeah, but it's been good talking about different communications with autism. Um, I'm sure we could talk more, but we'll be here all day, won't we? I know it's only one thing, but that one thing is very, it's a good thing to talk about because it's really important how other people can understand it.
Do we want to wrap up in a quick synopsis before we end on what we covered specifically?
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else that you'd like to say? You think?
No, I think just to recap what we talked about, and correct me if I'm wrong, we talked about how everybody's got a different personality style. Um, it can be difficult for people on the autism spectrum to read each other and adapt to each other. And if it can be difficult for us, how much more for us with other people who are neurodivergent? And that eye contact is super uncomfortable for a multitude of reasons. It can depend on what you said, someone's personality. It can depend on maybe there's neurological differences that make it hard, like physically painful, or um, takes a lot of effort to look someone in the eye. And it can have to do with our own emotional regulation and not wanting to worry somebody else, right?
Yeah. That's that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that covers it really well. I think that was
Yeah.
enjoyable. Mhm.
It does. Yeah. It's enjoyable. Yeah. And we could always come back another time and discuss another topic.
Yeah.
Um, we could pick one out the list. Um, yeah. Leave it. But Cassie, thank you very much for coming
Mhm.
on your first episode. Well, it's your episode. Last time it wasn't just your episode, but yeah, it's good fun to talk about this, um, because it's really important. And like you said, we covered a lot today. To anyone seeing this today, we hope you've enjoyed it as well. We hope you take something from it. If you haven't got autism, we hope you take something from it. If you do have autism or you're neurodivergent, you might relate a little bit to a few of the things that we've said. But see you in the next episode. Um, this episode will release on near Autism Day, around that time in April. But you will know that if you're seeing it right now. So, but yeah, we'll see you in the next episode, and we hope you've enjoyed this one.